Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Amy. I go by Fiber Arts Amy here and on Instagram. This is my second quilting video on this channel. For those of you who are new here, I have two channels. My original Fiber Arts Amy channel has a lot of quilting videos on it already, but it's mostly flosstube. It's mostly cross stitch related. And from now on, I'm going to be posting all of my quilting content over here on this channel, on Quilting with Fiber Arts Amy, just to try to keep those two separate for everybody. I'm glad you're here. I have a lot of stuff to share today. As usual, I have worked on a lot of different projects since I filmed my last video. I haven't made a ton of progress on any of them, but I've put my hands on a lot of different things, and my quilting bug is like through the roof lately. I've just been feeling very inspired, very excited, wanting to work on a lot of things. I'm still dealing with elbow pain, which definitely affects how much and what I can do. So I'm finding ways to kind of do more that doesn't hurt and doing less of the stuff that aggravates it. And I've been doing a lot more sewing in like small bursts. I do have a lovely fire going, so you might hear the crackling of that in the background because it's definitely making some noise. I should say today's March 3rd, 2025 here in beautiful Pittsburgh. We're still waiting for spring to arrive. We had a very frigid weekend. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to try to stay sitting in the chair. My dog is usually we sit in a much bigger chair. There's a lot of room for her. She's this morning a little out of sorts trying to figure out how to make this work because there's not room for her to sit next to me in this chair. Anyway, we'll see if Freya ends up being happy where she is. But I do have mostly small stuff to show you today because I don't have like any huge finishes or anything. The first thing I'm going to show you is the thing I'm most excited about. I've been trying to do just a little bit of work on this almost every day. Again, trying to like not upset my tendonitis too much, but also really wanting to make progress on it. This is like the only one that would help if I could stand up to show you. So this is a quilt I've made for my daughter. It's very small. She wanted something she could put over her lap while she's like sitting in bed, and she'll put like, she said boards. She has a lap desk and that she likes to use, and she wants something that she can just like drape either over or under the lap desk just to like keep her warm, but nothing that's too big. So this is just 4 blocks, really simple. She picked the fabric. Give me a second, I'll see if I can get the fabric line for you. She picked the fabric. I had a fat quarter bundle, and then she picked the fabrics that she liked best. I still have selvage, so the backing I just put together with fat quarters that didn't make it into the quilt. And of course, I don't have a single selvage back here. I want to say it's called like Bookish or something. It's a current line. Like, it's not old. You could still find it. And she picked the least busy fabrics from the line. But I don't know if you can see here. Oh yeah, you can see. So those are books. There's little open books, kind of like they're flying. And some of the fabrics have writing on them. Where is one? Because I know it's in here. Ooh, sorry if I'm banging you. Here's some of the writing. It's a really cute line, and I used leftover fat quarters for the back. I just pieced them together. So I got this block design out of Lori Holt's newest book. What is it called? It'll come to me. If it doesn't come to me, I'll link it down below. So this was one of her, I can't believe I can't think of the name. Anyway, So she has some table toppers in there, and this block with some borders around it was one of the table toppers in the book. All I did to get it the size I wanted was I took off the border, and then I just made 4 of them and put them together. Easy peasy. And like I said, I had Maddie kind of pick everything. She loves to read. She wants to be a librarian, so that's why we chose the fabrics that had a bit of a book theme to them. And she really loves it. Now, a lot of my quilts, especially my bigger quilts, because I only have a domestic machine, I have a wonderful Bernina, but it's one of the like base model Berninas. It does not have a large throat. I don't love quilting, especially large quilts, on my home machine. So most of my big quilts I send out to get long-armed. This one, it's small, and also I just kind of, well, I've been really enjoying handwork more and more and more as time goes on, and I just kind of got a wild hair to do some hand quilting. It helps that I've seen some other hand quilters lately on videos and things, and really finally accepted that I am too hard on myself. Right? Because you go to a show, and even if like you read listings for quilting, or like sometimes the way some people post quilts online and stuff, if they're just sharing quilts that they've bought at a market or whatever, they always list like the stitches per inch, and it's like 18 stitches per inch, and they're so tiny and they're amazing. But my quilting is not like that, and I don't want to put the work in to get my quilting like that. If that makes sense. It's a beautiful skill to have. It makes me think of my friend Pam from Stitched in the Land of Good Enough. I will link her below. She's got a great floss tube and a wonderful shop, Stitched New England. But her floss tube is Stitching the Land of Good Enough, right? I feel like I quilt in the land of good enough. I just don't, I don't want to spend my time trying to get to like a really impressive stitch per inch count. I just want to quilt and enjoy it and relax. So recently I feel like I've gotten over myself a little bit and relaxed and been like, you know, that's okay. Like for a while I think I wasn't hand quilting in large part because I was like, but my hand quilting isn't good enough. My hand quilting is great. They're bigger stitches and that's fine. I love it and it looks great. So I'm in the middle of stitching this. I've pinned it, and there were a lot more pins in this. When I first pinned it, I've been taking pins out as I come to them. Where's the middle? Okay, so here's the middle of the quilt, which is done. That one's showing up well. So I've been stitching a very approximate 1/4 inch on either edge of the seam, kind of like echo quilting the shape of each block. But some of the blocks I'm also going to, or all of the blocks, I'll be putting more into it to have a little more quilting. I'm not trying to do super tight quilting. I just want to have enough quilting for it to be relatively even, like the quilting to look relatively evenly distributed over the quilt, and of course to hold everything together well. So, and I'm using a really pale pink thread. I like YLI's hand quilting thread. It's a pre-waxed, really great, really strong hand quilting thread. I'm a big fan of YLI threads in general. They have some drawbacks. Mostly they don't have a huge color palette. Sometimes they have supply issues and you can wait a long time. Also, their colors aren't always super consistent. If you're planning on doing a big project and you think you're going to need like more than one spool of thread, or color is really important to you, get as much as you're going to need to complete a project. But the quality is through the roof. It's just a super strong, really smooth, really well-made thread. I love it. And I'll try to link some places down below. So the middle's all done. That one's harder to see. So these 4 blocks I've got quilted, and I decided to just quilt some hearts in. You can see some of them. So those blocks I'm calling done. And I've just kind of been, I move from the center out when I'm quilting, especially when I'm hand quilting. That's what I was taught to do, so that any fullness kind of spreads out as you can spread it out as you go. I'm hoping to get this done in the next few weeks, but I don't know because I haven't done enough hand quilting to know how fast I am. And with my elbow hurting, sometimes I can do more and sometimes I can do less, but that's okay. Anyway, I'm really happy with how it's going. I do have some plans. So in these big open blocks, in one of them, I'm gonna quilt in my initials. Another, I'm gonna quilt in my daughter's initials. There's 4 of them. And another, I'm gonna quilt in the date or the year, probably, because the date doesn't make sense. I'll quilt in the year. And then I might quilt a message in to the last one. I like quilting things in, like words or messages. And then a lot of the other blocks will probably be like echo quilting. Like, you know, inside this triangle, I'll do another triangle that's a bit smaller. I might do some stars. I don't know, I might get creative. I might think of some other book related simple images I can put in. I don't know, if you guys have suggestions, let me know. But I love how it's turning out. It's really fun to work on. And like I said, I just try to pick it up and do like a length of quilting thread most days. You can see some of the quilting on the, oh, can you see it? Yeah, some of the quilting on the back. I love how it's turning out. Very happy with it. Okay. Picking things up, like manipulating large things, like even like holding up jeans to like fold laundry is hard on my elbow. So you're just like folding that quilt hurt. Where to go next? I'm thirsty, but I can't lean over because my dog's in the way. I don't want to squish her. All right, we'll see. We'll see if I can make it last. So I know I'm not alone in this. I know some of you are the same. Or I know there's more of you out there that do this. It's not just me. But I'm like the queen of signing up for a block of the month and failing miserably. Which reminds me, there's one I wanted to bring down because I'm working on it and I didn't bring it down. I probably have 20 blocks of the month in this house right now that have been started, or in some cases, like not even started. Like I opened the box and petted the fabric and didn't get very far. I have all intention to finish all of them eventually. It's just taking time. I have to say, I've been lately really enjoying, I've been going through my stash and just picking things and being like, oh, I feel that right now. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to start it. I've been really enjoying what I have because I have a lot. And I've just been really leaning into enjoying that lately. And I know for some of you that doesn't work. For some of you, you're like a 1 at a time or like 3 at a time. And that's great if that works for you. I very quickly start to feel like, oh, I've been looking at the same project for more than 5 minutes. And I find that, you know, I feel like I still get a lot done, just at a different pace. If like, how to explain, right? Like I could start one thing and finish it and get one thing done in like maybe a month or 2 months. But, I'm still getting something done every month or 2. It just is a project that's been around for a few years. But I'm still getting things done at a good rate, I feel like. So I'm happy with how I do things. It makes me happy. So here's another block of the month that I'm not going to call myself behind on until the second month shows up, but it's been shipped to me, so I better hurry. So this is Lori Holt's Quilt Seeds from Peace and Plenty. So Lori Holt's most recent line, Peace and Plenty, I did not order a lot from. Her next... Okay, so she has Americana coming out. I didn't really order a lot from that either. The one after that, Gentler Times, I'm in love with. I can't wait for it. I think it doesn't come out till the fall or something. I ordered a bunch from that. But Peace and Plenty, I didn't order very much from. But I did order the Quilt Seeds. I wanted to do a little something from it. And this is only a 4 block of the month. So I haven't gotten far. But I have cut everything out. Okay. The fabrics are beautiful. Oh, there goes some of it. There goes some more of it. I love the purples in this line, and I've just barely gotten started, but it's a start with some of these blocks. This one, I still need to adjust to make them look like this. I haven't worked on it in a couple of, maybe a week. Please pardon me while I bend over. Oh, my poor dog. She's like, what are you doing to me, Mom? Okay. I do need a drink. I'm very sorry for you to disturb you. So anyway, I'm hoping to stay on schedule with Peace and Plenty, and actually have that ready to go and stay on schedule. It's only 4 blocks. It's only 4 months. You'd think I could do that. Prey is groaning. She doesn't like how I moved. Okay, so another thing that I took out, this last month or so has really been about taking out old projects, taking out things that I had kitted up and just starting to work on them. A lot of it's like English paper piecing and stuff. Just cutting fabric or like gluing onto paper pieces is not hard on my elbow. So that's part of the reason. So one thing I took out is this chrysanthemum block. This is 7-petal chrysanthemum English paper piecing. I did, there are like rules to how to make your seams all like nest up properly in the back. I think I wasn't the only one gluing these pieces, is why it didn't quite work out. But if you always start on the same side and like always go clockwise or always go counterclockwise, in the back you'll end up with all of your seams swirling like neatly. In this case, this orange one's the outlier, but the rest of them are like nesting or swirling neatly together. So I had this chrysanthemum partially put together, and what I'll end up doing when I've got a bunch of these is I will press this really, really well. I'll take out the pieces and I'll applique them to a background. Some people leave the paper pieces in, applique it down, and then cut out the background like you might with applique. Well, it is applique. And then take the pieces out from the back. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I've appliqued EPP before I just give it a good press. Then I take the pieces out and then give it another good press and then just stitch it down. And I think I'm much happier doing it that way. Anyway, I finished sewing this one together. And to do that, in case you're curious, so I sewed I had one side that had 4 pieces and another side that had 3 pieces. And then I sewed them together. Like if this were an even number, like let's say we're 8 petals, you would sew 1/2, 1/2, and then stitch straight down the middle. This doesn't have a straight down the middle, but I treated it the same way. I think if you didn't do it that way, you can end up with like a bit of a gap in the middle, which doesn't look good. So when I sewed the 3 pieces to the 4 pieces, I made sure that that center was really tacked down. I'm doing this super scrappy, and a large part of what I spent my time doing was cutting out and gluing a lot more pieces, because I'm gonna have enough for a good size quilt. So these were I had a jelly roll I think it was a jelly roll that a shop had put together. I know the shop I got it from, the shop doesn't exist anymore. I think they closed during COVID. So it had some 30s prints and also some like 30 solids in the jelly roll. And then I also had a couple of layer cakes from Lori Holt. I think one of them may have been Peace and Plenty. I want to say it was maybe Peace and Plenty and Mercantile or something. I spent a ton of time. Here's some more of the 30s prints. I spent a ton of time. I don't even know how many. I have a whole bag. And they're jammed in there. There's a lot. I spent a ton of time just cutting these out. So, and I also think the Lori Holtz mix really well with the 30s. And I'm going to just be like pulling randomly from here. Just pulling randomly and putting them together. I will probably, when I do Scrappy, usually what I end up doing is just like not putting two yellows next to each other, not putting two reds next to each other, but otherwise just really mixing these up. This will be a very long-term project. It's very convenient. I got everything I need in this little pouch, so I can take it with me. I have this just little envelope here. I've got needles in here, a waxer, and thimble, and I've got a spool of thread. So I have everything I need in here. I can just take it with me and do a little EPP, do a little sewing whenever I want, which is great. I just had a moment of being like, oh, this is going to be such a short video. I'm almost done. And then did a double take and was like, no, wait a minute, maybe not. So this, unfortunately, some of my patterns are on my phone, which is what I'm filming on. So it's hard to show you. But, oh, gosh, I can't even remember the name. I'm going to link the pattern down below so you guys can find it. But I'm doing an orange peel quilt. I love orange peels. I love really classic, like very just old-fashioned, simple quilts. There's a beautiful orange peel quilt that I'm going to be doing with relatively large orange peels. This is I think it's called Countryside fabric line. I have more of it. So this is just some of the Countryside. This was a layer cake. I feel like the light's a little off. It's actually like better if I show it to you over here. I love this fabric line so much. It's so pretty. I bought a bunch of it because I know I'm going to want to use it over and over and over again. I've got several quilts planned with it, but this one's going to be an orange peel. So you basically make orange peel blocks, and then also you add little cornerstones. And I think you can still get, like, I think shops still have Countryside in stock, or at least a lot of them do. This one's like a toile with like farm scenes. So I just went through and cut the orange peels. Now these are going to get appliqued. So a lot of people know it as a Lori Holt method. Of course, it's been around a lot longer than that, but, and other people use very, like, different versions of it. I don't like using interfacing. I don't like putting polyester in my quilts. I like keeping it to cotton. So for my interfacing, I have some really cheap muslin. And I use that as the interfacing, and I've found it works great, and I feel better. I like the way the quilt feels better. I like the way it drapes better. But I will, for those of you who aren't familiar, if I can get one of these out off the stack. So you just sew these together, right sides facing. The muslin, of course, doesn't have a right side. You sew it together with a 1/4 inch seam. You cut open the back of what I'm using is the interfacing, which is the muslin, and then you turn it inside out like a pillowcase, turn it right side out, press it real well, and then you can stitch it down. And I plan on doing this one on the machine. I say that, who knows, because I love handwork so much. The machine is, of course, faster. So I got all of these cut out, and then there's going to be cornerstones that also need to go on the blocks, and I'm going to use some of my indigo dyed fabric for that, but I haven't cut that yet. I just forgot. It was at the bottom of the stack and I forgot that day. And for the background for all of these blocks, I'm going to be using this natural linen. So this is a linen cotton blend that I love. If you've seen my other videos, you've seen it before, you will see it a lot in the future. But this is, it's like 55% linen, 45% cotton or something from Riley Blake. And I love using this. It's just, mwah, love it. I love the way it feels. I love linen. I love its drape, its softness. It just gets softer over time. And I've got sashing strips cut. So that's ready to sew whenever the mood strikes. I'm trying to decide what to show you next. I'm going to show you this. Okay, so a while back, and I will try to link like everything I mention. I might miss something. If you have any questions, just put it in the comments below, or you can always message me on Instagram, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. So one of the channels I often watch is Coriander Quilts. Cori Yoder, she's a fabric designer for Moda. She also designs patterns, which I tend to really like. So usually I think it's every Saturday morning, she puts out a video on her YouTube channel. Like I said, I'll try to link that below. A while back, and I don't even know how long ago it was, she posted, this is part of what I like about her channel. She doesn't just post her business stuff. She posts like the things she's doing just for her, like just for fun, which makes me happy. She just was working on a quilt all in Tilda, which, because I love Tilda, that made me very happy. Anyway, she posted a while back about a quilt that she was doing with sheets, with old sheets that she'd bought on Etsy. And I love the look of old sheets. I don't love that a lot of them are poly cotton blends, but I still love the look of them. So I went hunting on Etsy myself, and I bought, you can really see through, those would make nice curtains. I found, there's a lot of sellers selling old sheets. I found somebody who sells basically charm packs of old sheets, and I just bought some charm packs. And I'm planning on making a really simple quilt with it. Just yesterday I was working on this and I kind of changed my mind. I love quilts. I love quilts where like there's something new to look at every turn. Like it's super scrappy and you can just, my daughter does this a lot and I love it. Just spending time looking at the different fabrics and like picking out your favorites and what you like and what you don't like. And I don't know, I just love it. I'm actually going to end up making this a queen size quilt. I'm going to have, did I decide how I was going to do it? 16 blocks, I think. Yeah, I'm going to have 16 blocks. That makes sense, right? I don't know. See, now I'm second guessing myself. I'm going to have a bunch of blocks. Okay, so I have these like 25 patches. And I'm just going to have them separated by, so this one I need another row for. I do have some fat quarters I also bought that I can cut from. They're so pretty. They're just so floral and springy and like perfect for right now. I do still need to iron them. I just finished sewing the rows together yesterday. That was my machine time yesterday. I think almost all of them are from different sheets. Like there's just a huge variety here. They do smell like old sheets. I mean, they've been cleaned, like, you know, they're washed, but they have that, and the smell will wash out. But I've got a bunch of them. I think I was thinking of I was thinking of making a twin size quilt. And then I was like, oh, if I just make a couple more blocks, actually I could make a queen size quilt and it would fit on my bed. But also all of my kids really like, and quilts tend to travel around the different rooms here. All of my kids tend to like a quilt with a really big drop. So do I. Ooh, I just found pins. Do you ever do that? I actually once, where should I put these? I know where I should put them. One time I had a quilt fully made and quilted. I had quilted it myself. And my son was like, Mom, what is this? And he'd been using the quilt for probably 5-6 years. The quilt had been on his bed. It had been in the wash like a million times. And then one day he's like, it's poking me. What's going on? I had to open a seam to get out the pin that was still in the quilt. And it had been there for years. Bad mom. My daughter's actually homesick today too. Anyway, if I make it queen size, I have a queen size bed. Then I think it'll be more versatile. It can go on my bed, and I think my kids would like it more on their beds than if I make like a typical twin size quilt. So those are the blocks I have so far. One of them still needs one more row of charm squares, and that'll make 12 blocks. And what I'm thinking of doing is using the fat quarters that I, of course, also ended up buying. Whoops, sorry for my finger. I was getting a phone call. And making 4 more blocks to make it a big square quilt instead of a rectangular quilt. That's what I'm thinking. I need to sit down and actually do the math and whatnot. But that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. I'm almost positive that's what I'm going to do. So anyway, it's going to be really simple though. The color's not coming out great. I mean, I like sitting over here for these videos, but then I'm kind of backlit. So I don't love that. But this is like a really light pink. This is the same linen from Riley Blake, but it's like a blush pink. But you can kind of see. It's like a blush pink. It's so pretty. And I think it's just going to make a really nice, soft, lovely, just springy, very unfussy kind of quilt. Makes me quite happy. Just some ironing I need to get going on with it. So there's another project I'm really excited about. Something else I did, so this is classic me. Probably 2 months ago, I don't know, I came across and I'll link this below, I came across a pattern that from Fat Quarter Shop. And I feel it might be a free pattern. I'm not positive. But like I said, I'll link it below. I believe it's called Bird's Nest. I think Kimberly Jolly, the owner of Fat Quarter Shop, did a video on it. It's so it's basically one quilt block, but they offer it in a bunch of sizes. So you can make the block relatively small and just have like a table topper or like a crib quilt, or you can make the block enormous and have a king size quilt. And I was, whatever that day, I was just like, that's what I'm feeling. Like, I just want to very quickly, because it's, if you're just making one block really huge, right? It's fast. I was like, that's what I need right now. I just want to make a huge quilt really fast and be done with it and be happy. And I knew immediately what fabrics I wanted to use for it. So I had bolts of each of these fabrics, or at least partial bolts. So I went downstairs to my stash, I got the fabrics, I brought them up, and then I didn't do it. It just sat there for weeks or maybe even a couple of months. And then yesterday I was like, nope, actually last weekend I got started. I started cutting and didn't get very far. And then yesterday it was like, I'm going to finish cutting. I'm going to get this, I'm going to make progress. So I made progress. So this is huge because it's one block to make a king size quilt. Okay. So this is as far as I've gotten so far. There's basically 4 of these and then like a square and a square kind of border that goes in between each of them. And it's really pretty. Like I said, I'll link it below. I'm sorry, the picture for it's on my phone, like I said, that I'm filming on. And then a border that goes around the outside. It was really fun to work on. Let me show you the fabrics I'm using. So we had a store here in Pittsburgh called Packetans. It was, I think, a local chain. So it wasn't just Pittsburgh. I think it spread out a bit more than that. But there was one like just moments from my house. So that was my like Michael's type store. And then Packetans was purchased by Michael's. Maybe right before the pandemic, somewhere pre-pandemic. But Packetans sold fabric, kind of like Joann's, but not as big. When Packetans went out of business, they put all their fabric on like massive clearance. And normally I'm a like quilt shop only kind of person these days in terms of like what fabric I buy, but I couldn't resist. They put their fabric on sale really cheap, and they had these fairies. Look at these fairies. Look at how cute. I love them. I bought their Bolta Fairy fabric. And then this also was a blender that I bought to go with it. And then this is a Riley Blake solid. I really love Riley Blake's solids. That's the base that I use. So those of you who don't know or who are new here, I run Oak Crown Studios, which is a hand dyed fabric company. I dye cross stitch fabric, but I also dye quilting fabric that I use a lot. And actually I have some that I'll be showing you here in a few minutes. I love their fabric. So this is one of their solids. And the model was done in like pinks with like a typical like white or neutral background. And I decided I just wanted pinks and like aqua blues. And I love it. I have to say though, working with enormous pieces of fabric is not fun. And I know this because I've done this before. When I started my quilting life, I was always like, oh, bigger fabric will be, bigger pieces will be better because I'll get done sooner, right? But then the bigger pieces of fabric are so awkward and unwieldy to deal with that it takes forever and can be really tricky. Like this fairy print, I had to cut like a 36-inch square or something, or a 38-inch square, and then cut it in half diagonally. I don't have a ruler that's long enough to like do things the way we do them as quilters. Anyway, it's fine. I'm working it out. I brought this down. Fan favorite. I might not have shown this on this channel before. I've shown it a ton, but I feel like my first video I filmed for this channel, I had forgotten to bring this down. So this is my Marquise. There's an E on the end, which makes me think it's supposed to be Marquise. Quilt kit from Tula Pink. I've been working on this since 2020, since the pandemic started. It is almost done. All I need to do at the bottom is the bottom rows of sashing. So, and the bottom's my favorite because I'm like a blue-green person and that's where the blue-green blocks are. So it really bummed me out. My elbow went, and English paper piecing's been harder, and I haven't felt like I could work on this. Usually for the sashing parts, I just sew on a whole row. So I'm holding the quilt the whole time. That's one of the things that's really hard on my elbow, because just like holding and manipulating a big quilt is tough. But so I let this sit for probably at least a few months without getting any work on it. It was really bumming me out. And then it occurred to me a couple of things. One is I could stop sewing onto the huge quilt, and that would help reduce some of the elbow strain. Now I already had a thread on here and I was sewing these on. So I started working on this in small bursts, just like quilting my daughter's quilt. I finished up that thread, sewing some of the gray pieces on. And then I've started sewing. So inside the gray, there's going to be a a stripe of white and then one more gray piece in the middle. I've just started making those separate from the quilts. And then it's just a lot less weight for my arm to have to deal with. And I can sew them on once they're assembled. So I'm back to working on this, albeit very slowly. All the papers are out of the top. I am going to have this long armed when I'm done with it. I would totally stand up, except my dog's in my lap. I'm going to be so proud of this when it's finally fully finished. But anyway, that's where that stands. I'm just happy to kind of have it back in the rotation a little bit. Freya's like, why is Mom moving around so much? And then I also have a English paper piecing quilt. Well, I have a lot of English paper piecing quilts going on. But I have one in particular that a grandmother's flower garden type quilt that I've been doing with my daughter that I want to get the Marquise quilt done and then really focus on finishing up that grandmother's flower garden because it's big. It really could be focused on and be knocked out. I'm sure she's glad to like semi be in my lap, but I'm sure she is not happy to not be in the bigger chair. I brought this down because I didn't bring all the pieces down because I'd just be showing you pieces of fabric. But this is the other thing that I am doing from the Peace and Plenty collection. Here we go, another sew along I'm not going to keep up with. I'm already behind, I think. But I've been doing a lot of cutting, again, because it's a little bit gentler on my elbow. And I have started cutting my Peace and Plenty, or what's it called? Flower Basket Sampler. Flower Basket Sampler. This sew along from Lori Holt has started. I will try to link this below in case you're not familiar with these. And I remember before I understood, I was very confused. I was like, I don't understand. Like, there's no pattern. What are you talking about? So if you do a Lori Holt sew along, and you don't need to use her fabric, but lots of shops kit up these in her fabrics. She usually has a sew along for each fabric line she releases. This, which is very long, is a sew along guide. It gives you all of your cutting instructions. This is downloadable for free from the Riley Blake website. Riley Blake is the manufacturer of Lori Holt's fabric lines. So this is like the cutting guide. And then now you can kind of figure out how to put this together if you're an experienced quilter. But she also has the actual sewing instructions she posts on her blog, which I'll try to remember to link down below as well. She posts on her blog every week, usually, or whatever the schedule is for the sew along. I love this one, but I'm a huge sucker for basket blocks. So I'm very excited about this. And the fabrics are just cheerful, but not like too bright. This just hit the spot. I spent a couple days working on cutting it. I didn't make a ton of progress. There's usually a lot of cutting. You also need to buy her Sew Simple shapes for an applique quilt, and some of these blocks, the basket blocks have applique in them. And there's just the plastic templates. That's all that is. So instead of having to trace and make your own templates to applique, you use these Sew Simple shapes to do it. So I've been working on that, but all I've done is got some of the cutting done. Get another sip. Oh my goodness, I thought I was closer to being done than I am. I gathered up a lot, apparently. I know my cross-stitch followers really like long videos. I kind of hope you guys like long videos too, because that seems to be what I'm doing. Okay, so remember I said I love just simple, classic, like old-fashioned quilts. I love just like a 4-patch, a 9-patch, just like simple, like repeating blocks. I also like much more elaborate things, but like I just get like the warm, cozy feels from like just a simple repeating quilt. So, and I love handwork. I have started a quilt making the most adorable little bow tie blocks. I should have thought about that sun coming through. So here is my first tiny little bow tie block, and I love it. So I have, I had a jelly roll, and I don't know if I'm going to need to supplement this jelly roll or not. I don't know yet, but I have a huge stash of 30s prints if I need to. I'm going to keep this quilt all 30s prints. And then these are just white. I think they're actually, oh, the company that prints Tula Pink's fabric. Starts with an F. Free Spirit. I think it's Free Spirit, just white. I've taken the paper out of the square in the middle. That's why the light's only shining through the purple in the middle. Anyway, this is a 3-inch bow tie block. I typically get my my paper pieces from the company Paper Pieces. I'll link them below. They're wonderful. They just have so much. There's so much inspiration on their website, and they have lots of free downloads about like different shapes and how they tessellate and what you can do with hexes and different like partial hexie shapes, and it's great. It's the best kind of geometry. So anyway, I got this started. I just put together the one, but I spent a bunch of time the other night just cutting out, and I haven't like glued the edges down, but so this is how I English paper piece. A lot of people use templates to like cut, like acrylic templates, like thick, like a ruler, to cut out their pieces. I tend not to do that. I typically take my paper, I put a little dab of glue on it, I stick it on the fabric on the wrong side, I glue it down, and then I eyeball. I usually, for English paper piecing, prefer closer to a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I just cut it out. So I can just sit, it's very easy on my elbow. I can just sit watching YouTube or whatever, or listening to an audiobook, and just like, I actually was watching Death in Paradise the other night while I did this, which is, I love murder mysteries, like kind of cozy mysteries. I just sat down for like 2 episodes, I think, and just glued and cut, and have a big rainbow of 30s prints. And I haven't cut up all the fabric I have. I just did a bunch of it. I've got this little basket down here full of my stuff. And this quilt's just going to be these. Plain and simple, just scrappy from that jelly roll. And like I said, I'll add more into it if I need to. Just bow tie blocks, different combinations. And there's going to be a lot of them because this will be a twin size quilt, hopefully, when it's done. That's my plan. And this will go on for years, but it's just super simple and lovely. And the bow tie block's really easy to put together. So that's another thing I was working on. Ooh. Trying to bend over without disturbing my dog. Okay, so I showed this a while ago, probably over on my other channel. Again, if you're here just for quilting, and well, regardless, you're welcome to go check out my other channel, Fiber Arts Amy. There's cross stitch and quilting over there, but there's a lot of quilting content as well. If you're just a quilter, you should still head over there if you're enjoying this video, and take a look at my older videos. Over there, I know I've shown this before. These, there's a few of these kind of style or type of thing you can get from Missouri Star Quilt Company. And I'm really happy they started doing this. This is Ingrid's Wildflowers. You have everything kind of comes in this neat little tin, and I'm a sucker for a tin, especially a tin that's a hexagon. I mean, it's like they designed this specifically to get me to buy it, right? So this is the quilt that I'm making, but they're all these embroidered squares. So I'm doing mine in a different colorway, and I actually got this started. So this is my first block I'm working on embroidering. Haven't gotten very far yet, but progress is progress. I'm finding embroidery is pretty easy on my elbow too. So I actually really love these kits. Came with needle minder. Sorry if you can hear the beeping, that's my dishwasher. I have a thimble in here. It comes with, on this ring, there's these stitch diagrams that tell you exactly what stitch to put where. And there's kind of like a cheat sheet on the back. So on the front, there's a diagram. Tells you exactly what to put where. And there's a little cheat sheet on the back that shows you what each stitch is supposed to look like. But then also in here is like a detailed explanation of each stitch on a little card. It's really quite nice. I was impressed with how this came. And I have not used these before, and I'm still in the first block, so I haven't tried to wash one away before, so I can't make any claims to that. But these are like peel and stick things. So the embroidery pattern's pre-printed on here, and you just stick it on the center of your square, do your embroidery, and then apparently it'll wash away. Also came with scissors. It came with a wooden hoop, but I don't use a hoop. And it came with all the pearl cotton you need. My only complaint, it's not as much a complaint as more like a wish. I think I've just been stitching too long. These are all solid colors. And I'm like, but what about like variegated? I want to get fancier, right? Like I want to do stuff that's more elaborate than just the solid pearl cottons. And ever since they put this out, I've been like, oh, it would be so nice if they just sold these, right? Well, I was on their website the other day and found that now, I think not for their newest kits, because so they have 3 of these kits that I'm aware of. They have Ingrid's Wildflowers, they have a Christmas one, and then they have one that's like, that's actually put together as hexagons. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'll link that below too. But for, not for the newest kit, but for Ingrid's Wildflowers, they are now selling, I think, just these. So you can get just these, and then you'd have to supply your own pearl cotton. But that also means you could do fancy pearl cotton and like Baldanis and Weeks and whatever. Now this is going to be a quilt that I intend to actually have used and thrown in the wash and whatnot. So I will be careful what I choose, but I think I will probably at times supplement these solids with some other pearl cottons. I think these are number 12. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see. But just, you know, from feeling them and whatnot, they feel like 12s to me. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what it is. So I'm doing mine a little bit differently. I'm using a more medium background instead of the dark background. And I think I picked out like a blue to go in the sashing from my stash of wovens. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm glad I've gotten it started. Yeah, that's fun. I either need to do these videos more often. I guess or just have very long videos. Okay. So, oh my gosh, I hope you guys are okay with how long this video is. I saw this book. I actually think I found out about this book from one of the many email lists I'm a part of. I did my typical thing that I do most like Januaries, where I start unsubscribing from a whole bunch of mailing lists because there's just, I'm in so many of them. But I really like some of them that come from shops in Australia and stuff because I just see different things there. The stuff you see on a lot of channels that are more common here in the US are great too. But I really like seeing some of the unusual things that they're doing in different parts of the world that maybe I don't already see on you know, all the most popular channels and whatnot here in the US. So anyway, one of these newsletters from Australia talked about how they'd gotten their hands on some of these books, because I think this is a newer book, but like it doesn't come out in Australia for a while, but they imported some from the US for their customers. Anyway, I was like, all right, well, let me go check out this book, because apparently it's a big deal. It's called Vintage Vibe Quilts and Projects. This book's amazing. I am in love with it, and I've started 2 projects from it already, one of which I will show you today. Well, let me show you. So I started, oh, which part can't I show you? All right, this is called Hyacinth. I've started this. I've done the cutting for it, or some of the cutting for the Dresdens, but mine's going to be a scrappier version, but they're like doubly pointed Dresdens at the top and the bottom. And I'm using a collection. I'm using, what is Bunny Hill? Is it Bunny Hill Designs? Their most recent collection. It's kind of like reds, whites, and blues, but like a really pinky, like shades of pink. It's beautiful. Anyway, I'll show you that next time. The one that I am going to show you now is Laundrette. So I saw this, and this is all hand pieced. A lot of the, some of the projects in here are hand pieced and cut with templates. Now, some of them, if you didn't want to cut with templates, you could easily just measure and do the math to use a rotary cutter. Like this one on the front cover, the instructions are written to cut with templates. And you can like trace and make your own templates. There's the stuff to trace in the book. But you can also just measure and cut with, if I do this one, I'll do the rotary cutting, because it's just all like rectangles or all squares and triangles, like half square triangles. So I would cut that with a rotary cutter, but you don't have to. You can do it old-fashioned way if you want. So what I did when I saw Laundrette, I love it. I am hand piecing it, although of course you don't have to. You could piece it on the machine. I had this huge bin of scrap, and by scrap, some of them were huge pieces, just like leftovers, things I had used in other quilts, and now I had some left over, right, to go back and stash in this room. And what I decided was to basically cut a piece from every one of those fabrics, and every fabric in the quilt would be different. And my daughter helped me. She rejected some of them. She's like, you don't want that in there. But it's been fun. Now mine's going to be a lot darker than that one. That one was very like light and medium tone. Mine's going to be more medium and dark tone, just because of what I have. And this isn't completely sewn together yet. I did this sewing the other night very quickly. Honestly, like the hand piecing went very fast. So I'm trying to use lighter tones as the center octagon and as the edge. I have one more piece that's going to go down here. I should hold something, because I'm in front of this window. Hold something behind this. But it's definitely going to have kind of like an I Spy element to it, right? So I really just need to sew this piece on either side, and then sew the triangle on. It does have Y seams here where the octagon meets the two like tumbling block type shapes. Again, you can do that on the machine, but I'm finding I actually really enjoy just sitting and watching a show and holding it in my lap and doing it. Nope, words just went in my head and out. It'll come back to me. So this is all, I spent a weekend, I mean, not the whole weekend, but just cutting, and these are all fabrics I've used in other projects, right? Mostly quilts, but sometimes bags or all sorts of things. Oh, this is from that Bookish fabric line. It was a reject. My daughter didn't want quilts. But it's just so fun. So these are kind of the tumbling block sections. Oh, this is one of my favorite fabrics ever. Hold on, let me get this one out to show you. I love it. I love that every fabric in the quilt is going to be different. It's just so beautiful. That guy, he's so cute. I definitely need to work on getting some lighter fabrics, but I've got a whole stack of triangles, and I'll have to cut more. This is just like to get me started. I did a whole bunch of cutting. I have other bags of scraps in the basement. I love this one. There's a Tula Pink, and I fussy cut some of the scraps to get something like a certain section that I wanted. So yeah, anyway, it's just fun. And I did all this cutting, and I was really nervous about whether it was going to go well, whether I was actually going to enjoy hand piecing this together. I knew I could always machine sew it if I wanted to. But this was really fun and really fast. And so I was saying earlier about my hand quilting, right? That I finally like kind of chilled out a little bit and gave myself permission to not be so stressed out or so hard on myself about my quilting. My hand piecing's the same. I had kind of this idea in my head of what that needed to look like. But I've seen some vintage and antique quilts recently, and it's been like, wait, that's what mine looks like. I've been thinking mine isn't good enough. My stitches aren't small enough, but I'm looking at these other quilts and my stitching's just like theirs. So maybe my stitching is good enough. So I don't know if you can even see. There's pencil lines too. Let me see. There's a darker one. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see anything. But anyway, there's my hand stitching. Looks good to me. There's no light shining through. Seems good. Anyway, this has been a blast. I'm really glad I got this book. I want to make almost everything in it. I'll try to find it and link it below. I feel like I might have even, I don't know. I might have even gotten off Amazon. I'm not sure. One more peek. All right, we're getting there. I'm almost done. Okay, so this is also something that, okay, so I signed up for this, is it Fields of Fancy? Field of Blooms? Nope, that's the linen, the pre-printed linen. Hold on. I think it's called Fields of Fancy, block of the month. What? I feel like I have a, maybe I don't. Okay, I signed up for this through Intrepid Threads. I might have thrown out the original packaging. Field of Blooms, might be Field of Blooms. Okay. Well, here, I'm going to show you what I have. Okay, so this was a pre-printed linen, which I know you can get, that makes part of the quilts. So this is a block of the month. What did I say earlier about blocks of the month? This is a block of the month that I signed up for, but it's all handwork. I signed up through Intrepid Threads. I will link them below. It says Lila Bell Lane Creations. I'll show you that back down there. Okay, this is part of why I don't know how to get started, is because I found this very confusing. I'm very glad I'm doing it. I think I finally figured out what I'm supposed to be doing. This came with a template. I'll show you the template. Basically what you're doing is you're creating hexagons, and I've done this method before. It's like a quilt as you go. There's 2 hexagon pieces. It does say Field of Blooms, so I guess that is the name of the, I feel like Intrepid Threads might call it Fields of Fancy. I'm not sure. Anyway, you get the template, and oh, I wish I had one completed so I could show you. Let me pull one out and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. So this is not how, this is not a combination that is going to be used, but you'll get the idea. So every month I get a pack of fabric, and it's got some background fabric, some embroidery, pre-printed embroidery. I signed up for the Tonalon, the Liberty London Tonalon. And this is an Acufactum print. So every month you cut out some small hexagons and some big hexagons, and I'm just using scrap batting. So you cut out some of your batting, and what you do is you layer a small hexagon on top of the batting, which is the size of the small hexagon. You put that in the center, and then what you do is you fold over. I folded that over twice so that it's not a raw edge there, and you stitch all the way around. So you've got a hexagon that's two-sided, and we're making a whole bunch of these, and then you stitch them together to make a quilt. Could be a wall hanging, a table topper, or, you know, a bed quilt, whatever you want it to be. So this is one of the things I finally dove into. So I got stymied almost immediately when this first started, because I felt like it showed up with like no directions. Like I had a template, I had a pack of fabric, I had some embroidery floss, and then was like, okay, but what am I supposed to actually do? And I mean, really could not figure out what the heck I was supposed to do. There, like, I'm very used to there being like, cut 5 of this, cut 3 of this, there was none of that. None of that. Like I didn't want to waste my fabric, right? But there was no information. There was no like, you know, cut 6 of large hexagons, cut 3 small hexagons from this, use this fabric for this, use that fabric for that. None of that. And it really threw me. I did start right away doing the embroidery. So this is the first month's embroidery block. Again, it came with some Cosmo floss. Okay, so it says 2023 on it, and it's pre-printed, and it doesn't wash out. So I have a little bit of a conundrum. I don't know if I want to change the date, because I didn't start this till 2024. I don't know if I just want to stitch 2024 over it and just ignore the fact that it says 2023. I don't know if I want to just do 2023. If you guys have a suggestion, please tell me what to do. But anyway, I also pretty quickly stopped doing this because we only had a few skeins of embroidery floss, and I didn't have like the colors that I wanted. And obviously I have embroidery floss. I could have pulled something else. My hair clip came out. But I don't know, like this really got off to a rough start for me. Because again, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And then like, and she was sending floss every month, or most months, I think. So I knew I'd be getting more colors. And so I was like, well, let me wait and see if I get colors that I'm happier with for this. And I did eventually. Now I have a lot more floss. Let me put the embroidery back. I'm trying to keep everything organized in my bag because I still do feel very sort of disorganized. At this point, this is Cosmo floss. These are the colors that we have so far. Okay, so I got off to a rough start. So they also, it gets better though. It gets better. They also have so Intrepid Threads has a website in this, like, they have like an online platform, forum sort of thing. There were 2 issues for me with using it. One, I'm finding it doesn't work great on my phone. It's just harder to navigate. You can't see everything that's there. It's just not great on my phone. 2, it still is confusing. So, uh, again, and it's just the way my mind works, right? But I'm like, I want to be told, and I think I expected to be told because I have participated, though not finished, so many blocks of the month, right? In this month's pack, cut 6 of this from these, cut 4 of these, this from those, use this for this, you know, like, and that's not what this block of the month is. So if you want all that, this block of the month probably is not for you. If you're more like freeform, then this block of the month is for you. So I switched to my iPad. So basically what I'm trying to say is I sat down a couple of weeks ago and basically spent like 2 days just being like, I'm gonna sit down and figure this out, because I was really scared to like cut into my fabric, my very precious Liberty fabric, which I don't have a ton of stash of, and it's very expensive, and make a mistake and then not be able to go back and fix it, right? So I finally sat down on the iPad and I started watching the video. So there's a video for each of the months. Yeah, the videos are good. The videos are good. They don't give me all the information I wish they did. They don't tell me what to actually do. But she does talk about in a couple of the videos that she's doing that on purpose. That she wants this to be very like us making our own decisions, us being like free form, doing whatever. I think she says each month you should have enough materials to make 6 hexagons. But how we do that and what they look like is totally up to us. Which, now that I know that, I can lean into that and I'm good with that. But I didn't really understand that, for a while. And so I was just worried to mess something up. And this project was causing me a ton of stress. It's causing me a lot less stress now. I wouldn't say no stress, but less stress. I wish I had more done so I could show you, but I really don't. So there's embroidery for some of the blocks. There's English paper piecing and applique for some of the blocks. So all the blocks are going to be different. So far, I've done a ton of cutting. I've cut a bunch of big hexagons. I have everything kind of stacked in order here. Oh, I know why I did that. So, yeah, I've got, oh, this one's so pretty. I love this one. And she does this, I think she does it, I think this is a block of the month that she runs with like different start dates. Like I think I'm the second group of people to have gone through. So if you want to do this, go check it out. It is a lot of fun once you like understand you're kind of just making your own decisions. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh no, it's there. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. But I sat down, like I said, for a couple of days. Oh, I love this one. That's one of my favorites. And just cut. I just like delved in. I watched all the videos that are available so far for all the months that we have and just cut. These Acufactum fabrics I love. I knew I loved Acufactum. It's funny though, because Acufactum fabrics are very rough, like compared to what you would be used to. I think they come from Germany. They're just a lot rougher. And then the Tana Lawns, the Liberty fabrics, are so soft. So there's a huge discrepancy there. It's going to be interesting texturally to have them together. This is one of my favorite Acufactum prints. I actually have a little bit in stash. So in the some of the smaller hexagons will be like these Acufactum fabrics. Some will be embroideries, like I showed you earlier. Some will be like hexy flowers and different kinds of applique and whatnot. But I'm happy that I finally sat down. It just took like a lot of brain space, right? To sit down and be like, now what am I actually supposed to be doing? And I did mess some up. I cut, here's one. Here's a Liberty fabric that I accidentally cut the wrong size hexagon out of. And then I didn't have enough, because she's sending you small pieces. She's just sending you what you need, which is, again, part of why I was like, I can't afford to mess this up, right? So what did I do? I cut a hexagon the wrong size. The larger hexagons are all supposed to be these Liberty fabrics. So she sends you, and again, I had to figure this out. Can you tell I'm a little bitter? But she sends you 6 Liberty fabrics every month, and you have enough to cut a large hexagon from the Liberty fabric, and then also some other little pieces you might need for like the applique or the English paper piecing applique for the insides of the flowers. Well, once I had cut this and then realized I had cut the wrong size, I didn't have enough left to then also cut a large hexagon, because she doesn't send you very much, which is fine because Liberty's expensive. I wasn't doing this as a stash building exercise. But anyway, it was fine. I went to my stash, and this is the one I cut. This is, this fabric was left over from a Brimfield Awakening quilt, and this was a leftover. So I cut that to replace the one. So luckily I have a little bit of a stash. That's sarcasm. I have a huge stash. So anyway, this I'm enjoying, even though it's kind of strange, or was a strange start. I'm planning on continuing to work on it. I have this one all, like, everything I need in here, so that I can take this with me places, basically. It's all handwork. It's just a great thing to take with you. And depending on your mood, you could do English paper piecing, you could do embroidery, or you could do the hand piecing and the quilting of those blocks and be fine. Okay, one more to go. One more project to show you. So this one, I got off to a great start on. Ooh, sorry, I knocked into you. I got off to a great start on this maybe a year ago, and then it languished because I have other things I'm working on too. So this came about, so I mentioned earlier my hand-dyed fabric company. This is Celestial Skies. It's by Liz Weiner. It's spelled kind of like Wunner, but I doubt that's what it is. It's a smallish quilt. It's 40 by 42. I'm doing mine in kind of a different colorway than hers. So Oak Crown Studios, I dye hand-dyed fabric, right? And when I was dyeing my original colors 2 summers ago, to put up on the website, I dyed samples of everything. I basically keep like a reference card of everything. So I used a layer cake to dye the original colors. Now I also did this on cross stitch fabric, but I also threw in the quilting fabric, so I'd have a reference for them. And then I cut a square out of each and attached it to my card, so I've got the reference. And then I have these partial, let me see if there's one I haven't cut into yet. I basically have a ton of these partial layer cake squares left over in a rainbow of colors. I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do with that? Well, and then I found this pattern and was like, well, that's perfect, because it just needs a ton of little pieces. This is what I need to do. Try not to drop everything. Cleaning up from this is going to be a nightmare. Okay, so I'm doing mine. I dye fabrics using Procyon dyes, fiber reactive Procyon dyes. Is how I dye cotton and linen. But then I also do some natural dyeing for some of the fabrics, including indigo. So I also had a bunch of fabric from Indigo Vat last year. So the quilt is designed to have this white background. I decided instead to use my indigo dyed fabric for the background. And I haven't put all of these together yet, but here's just a bunch of the large hexes. And so this is part of what I love about indigo dyeing. I mean, the color is gorgeous, but I also end up with some variation that adds some depth to the pieces. Now you can dye indigo to be more even than this, but this is how I like to dye it, where there is some natural variation and some sort of surprise texture that comes out from like folds in the fabric and whatnot. So this will be the background. I love dyeing with indigo. It's just so fun. And then, okay, in the last like 2 weeks, I've made a ton of progress. So there's 8 stars that are sort of complicated, and I've got 4 of them done, and I'm the 5th one. Oh, I might sneeze. Excuse me. The 5th one is in progress. Well, should hopefully be done this week. I love this one. So I'm just using those scraps from that first summer of Oak Crown. I feel like this is going to be a great memory piece. I'm just using those scraps and pulling them 1 star at a time. I love how that's turning out. Oh my goodness. I just realized I'm working on the quilt. I meant to pull it and I still didn't pull it. I forgot last time too. Kelly, Pages and Stitches, designed a quilt, and she's very graciously letting me make her quilt design as well. And I have it started and I didn't bring it down here. So it's gonna have to wait one more video. I'm very sorry, Kelly. I love how this one turned out. It's very citrusy and sunny. So these just get scattered through the quilt. Oh, that looks good. Oh, I love it. This was the first one I did, and I was definitely feeling less, I stayed more in my comfort zone because I'm very much a like blues, greens, purples, like this is where I'm comfortable. Those brighter colors are a little less instinctual for me to use, but I love the stars that I've done when I have gone outside that comfort zone and use them. I love how they're turning out. They put everything in here neatly so it doesn't get crushed. And I'm gonna show you the one that I'm currently working on because I think it's gonna be amazing. So this is how this one's going to look. And I'm trying to have everything contrast right with, so these will go all the way around. Contrast with the navy, the like dark, deep indigo blue of the background. The one thing I found, and I think it was a mistake. I didn't have any of these. I bought the paper piece pack, but none of the triangles came in my paper piece pack, which isn't a big deal. There's a lot of diamonds in this quilt. And I actually needed, there weren't very many of these either. I had a pack of these that were the right size from something else. So I've just been cutting those in half to get my triangles, and I pulled a bunch of these from the other pack to use for the quilt. But that was just kind of annoying, but that's my only complaint. Other than that, everything's going great. I'm very happy with how it's turning out. If you're interested in my hand-dyed fabrics, I'll link my shop below in case you want to go check that out. I think they're super fun to use. I'm having a blast. I think that's it. I showed everything that I have within arm's reach. I hope you guys had fun. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's fun to go through some of my projects and so nice to share with you guys what I've been working on. Please do let me know if you have a suggestion for what to do about that 2023 and that embroidery block, because I would like to get that done and move on to the next block. But every time I pick it up, I'm like, 2023, what do I do about that? Freya's unhappy that I'm moving, apparently. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying creating whatever beautiful things you are working on today. And hopefully I'll be back here soon with another video. Bye.